am here with Renee Michelle, professional wrestler. Renee, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Um, the last time I saw you was in Barbados. There was the Down Barbados wrestling event. I think that was late February or early March.
Yes,
And a lot has changed since then.
absolutely. Yes, a lot has changed. Unbeknownst to me, I didn't think that would have to do with the pandemic, but here we are.
Right. Yeah, it was just starting to set in there, and you could see it at the airport. They were starting to, you could start feeling like there was a little uneasiness going on. But then within 2 weeks, the world completely changed. How have you been holding up?
I've been holding up quite well, actually. Like, I didn't have any issues. I know, like, a lot of people, they kind of miss, being out there, probably being at the bars or clubs or whatever the case may be. But I was still able to maintain, like, a solid schedule, minus the independent wrestling. But everything else, luckily I was able to maintain everything like I usually do.
Oh, nice.
Like
How
I'm
did
still able,
you? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no worries. I'm still able to attend CrossFit, which is great. I'm still able to attend flatbacks, which is awesome. So it still keeps me in ring ready. So just in case when things do open up again, instead of like having that ring rust, I'll be ready for everyone.
Right. How'd you get your break into wrestling?
Oh gosh, where do I begin? I was not a wrestling fan. I did not know anything about wrestling. And it was funny that a mutual, I had friends of mine that was friends with an ex of mine. Because I was so busy into like modeling and work and trying to get into acting, I really wanted to do stunts because I grew up on martial arts. During that time, it was the only time to be able to spend that time with him. So he dragged me to my first wrestling show, and which was over at Impact. And I didn't understand it. All I saw during that time was a bunch of men in their underwear fighting each other. I'm like, okay, well, I guess this is a man's thing. I'm gonna go and get some nachos and jalapenos. So I'm in line, and the next thing I know is that I see this elderly old bald man chasing after me with papers in his hand. And he was like, you have a really great look. You look really, really unique. You look like you're in shape. Have you ever thought of becoming a professional wrestler? I did not know that was Dwayne Gill during that time. But I said, I grew up on wrestling, so I had no idea who was what, or whatever they may be.
Right.
But I declined him, and I said no multiple times. He asked me what was my name, and I went by the name Renee Michelle, which is actually my real name, Renee Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually able to find me on social media, so he keep begging and begging and begging. I'm like, all right, I'll give it this one time, and if I don't like it, that'll be the end of it. He said, all right, cool. So I tried it out, and I caught the wrestling bug. I was like, okay, this is very much like, what I'm kind of used to in the realm of things. So let me challenge myself how far I could possibly go with it. And the more I've been indulging it, the more I fell in love with it.
Right. Wow. How long ago was that? Was that fairly recently?
That was somewhere near the end of 2012.
Okay. And so where did you first start training?
I started at Gilbert's Pro Wrestling Academy, and I started there, and then the school shut down. I still don't know the reasoning or why. And then, but luckily I was able to meet a man named Dan McDevitt, who he ended up opening up a school called MCW. Mm-hmm. So I ended up getting my actual training there at MCW.
And that's in Maryland, right?
Yes, Maryland Championship Wrestling. Okay. And then Dan, he's like a father. He's like a dad to me in wrestling. And I'm truly, truly blessed because he didn't have to give me a chance. He gave me a chance, mm-hmm. And he took me underneath his wing in that. And then from there, like, I guess luckily there was a tryout for over in Japan, and I was invited to go to the tryout. And luckily for me, like during college, I took Japanese. So Marvelous, which is Chikuza Nagayo's promotion, she was running a American tryout, which she never trained any American people, let alone foreigners, let alone men. She's known to only train strictly women. And when I was there, I did everything that she needed me to do, but I noticed like a lot of the people, they were cutting promos in English. So I'm like, you know what, let me change it up a bit, you know. So I cut it in Japanese. And I guess from there, I was lucky. I was golden from there. So I ended up being her first student that she ever trained that's foreign, you know, from America. And then she started bringing really in more girls and more girls, which I'm very happy about.
So starting off not even being a wrestling fan and then getting straight into the wrestling aspect of it, what was the hardest thing about getting into the ring?
Um, the hardest thing during the time was learning everybody, who was what was who, what they done. And you know, it in the beginning it does rub people the wrong way, because obviously you do have to know your research, you do have to like learn it, and even though you're still learning, you're still trying to process it all. It's a little bit overwhelming, but also at the same token, it's like, well, let's just put it out there. Let's mention about how many other individuals who weren't wrestling fans that fell into wrestling. You know, like Goldberg was one of them. So it's
Right.
like, if you really throw it out there, but that doesn't mean like I don't try. Like, of course I want to know who is who did what, the reasoning and so forth. But other than that, I mean, you never stop learning. You never stop learning. You're always learning something new every day.
Yeah. Who were some of your favorite opponents early on?
Oh, my favorite opponents early on. I remember I tag team and wrestle against Mickey James.
Oh.
So she's a sweetheart. Melina, I wrestled against her. I wrestled against her in MCW and also in Barbados, which
Right.
is
Yeah.
and then gosh, like I wrestled like a bunch of like different girls, but those are like the top that I can remember. Takumi Aroha, which is a Chigusa Nagayo protege. Now, like before, like her protege in the past was that on the Mae Young Classic, Sakamura. That was her protege in the past before. Now is Takumi Aroha.
Okay. Wow. A lot of fans probably remember you from the Mae Young Classic. Outside of your other appearances on WWE television, how did the Mae Young Classic appearance happen?
Oh wow. I did my tryout. I did my tryout during that time,
Okay.
and I know that they were interested in a bunch of girls, and it was like really interesting that, okay, we see all these girls from different places all over the world. Why not a tryout? Let's just weed out who are the best ones. And never I thought in a million years I ever wrestled Candice LeRae. She has 15, 20 years of experience on me. So it's like, you know,
Right.
and here I'm just about maybe 5 years in,
Mm-hmm.
you know, 5, 6 years in. But other than that, I mean, Candice, she's a lot stronger than she looks. She's a firecracker. She's a lot stronger than she looks.
Yeah. So how was that? What was that whole experience like?
It was great. It was definitely great. It was very much different from, you know, TV from over in Japan, because I'm used to how TV works over in Japan compared to America.
Mm-hmm.
How the setup and the detailing, the lights and all of the other stuff, it was wonderful. And then having to be in the ring with Candice was like definitely a game changer for me. I'm like, yeah, like after being in the ring with her, I'm like, I definitely got to step up my game.
Well, up until that point, what would you say was what was the hardest match you think you've had?
The hardest match, oof.
Or what's physical, like where you were just beat up afterwards?
I remember, I forgot exactly which match it was, but I was actually very sick. I was running a fever of 104.
Oh, geez.
And I think I was 3 years in. It was for big time wrestling. And basically, the fever didn't hit me out of nowhere. The fever actually started hitting me like 15 minutes before I had to go out.
Wow.
So it came out of nowhere. Like I thought I was fine, and then the fever started coming out of nowhere. And I was wrestling in the ring, and I'll never forget. I thought I was gonna pass out, but I ended up doing a moonsault. I think I was wrestling against Tessa Blanchard during the time. We were both very young, And I don't even know how I survived that match because I was in pain. I was in pain. I was in pain. Definitely running a fever and not feeling the best, but I pulled it off.
Wow. How was it working with Tessa?
It's great. She's a phenomenal wrestler. Like I'll give her props. She works hard, you know.
Mm-hmm.
She works.
Now, a lot of fans obviously remember you from your appearances on WWE television as well, with your husband Eli Drake. Oh my God, sorry, Drake Maverick. Oh my gosh, sorry about that. It's my wife and I are on this detox, and I can't have caffeine, and so it's just been killing me. But
it's okay. Like my husband, he has me in this no caffeine organic coffee thing going on, and I'm like, I just want my Folgers.
Yeah, I'm having to drink just herbal detox tea, and it's just not the same. But how was it working with Drake on WWE television?
It was hilarious. It was very hilarious. I wasn't even okay. So where do I even begin? Story of my life. It was funny because it's like a lot of people don't know that my husband and I we've been married. We just haven't done the actual wedding because we have families from overseas, and you know, trying to gather everyone around it takes a lot. It's a lot of planning.
Mm-hmm.
So what we decided to do, we decided to get married in September 2017, through the court to get that out the way, you know, the paperwork and all that other stuff. Mm-hmm. And so when the next year, it took like a whole year, and I was planning the wedding by myself. Mm-hmm. And it took like the whole year of planning it, you know, the details and everything, organization and all that. So that should give everyone throughout wherever they may be coming from a whole year to plan to come to America or different states or whatever the case may be. Unbeknownst to me, my dear husband, I knew that he asked 2 days prior to the wedding that, hey, like WWE, they like to film it. So I initially thought, I'm like, okay, it'd probably be something like, you know, Sarah Logan and her husband, something like that. No, I did not get the full details until he told me 2 hours prior to the wedding. And that's when they started doing that 24/7, you know, charade. So, yeah, 2 hours prior to the wedding. And if anything, I have like a very elderly Southern like grandma, and you know, she's very Southern. So I'm like, okay, can we just film this portion first, and then you guys can have me however way you guys please, you know? Right. So we're going to do the actual ceremony first, and then be able to do what we need to do, which was actually one take.
Oh, wow.
The truth is, I did not know where Truth was sitting at. I seriously did not know where he was sitting at, you know? Like, I thought that it was going to happen during the reception or whatever, but unbeknownst to me, it ended up doing the ceremony, but I had no idea where he was sitting at. So that's just how it unfolds.
So were the crew then, did they leave after, or did they stay for the actual ceremony? Were they then invited to the ceremony itself?
No, I did not know until 2 hours prior to me going aisle. I didn't, and it's like, you know, like any other woman was like, no, this is the best day of my life, you know, like this is the one-time hit wonder. Like, are you crazy? But I'm like, okay. Like,
now you mentioned you weren't a wrestling fan growing up, so I'm assuming your family weren't into it either.
No.
So what were they thinking during the whole thing?
It's kind of like very foreign for them because, you know, my family, we grew up like strictly like government, military type of family. So it's like, it's a completely different world, you know? So we had to get like a lot of them, we had to like clue them up on, you know, after the ceremony, but then the rest who did not understand or whatever, were like, okay, we just take them down to their cocktail hour, push them on, you know. so that grandma doesn't have a heart attack and everything
Right.
else. But yeah, like we did a one take, and that was just great. That was just great for us. And of course, yeah, my veil got ripped in the
Ooh.
process, unbeknownst to me, and no one did not tell. My bridesmaid did not want to tell me. I would have flipped if they told me right then and there. And it's like I'm still waiting for, truth and my husband to fix my dress and my veil, because I
Yeah.
have a big black footprint on the back of my dress, and I have a ripped veil,
Oh no.
and it's still sitting in the closet as we speak.
Well, and on the one hand, that sucks that happened, but on the other hand, that's historic. This is the first time I think it's a real wedding ceremony has been used for a wrestling angle. Right?
Yeah, but as you look at it, like, when does ever a WWE wedding ever go right? When does
Right.
it ever?
Right. So when you did the wedding, when you guys did that angle with R-Truth, did you think that was it with your as far as you appearing on WWE camera, or did they say that there might be more after that?
I thought that was it. I
Uh,
really thought that was it. I'm like, okay, that'll be it, and then I continue on with my life. But unbeknownst to me, I got a phone call, and they keep bringing me back and more shenanigans and bringing me back. And it's
and,
like all looks and everything are real looks that I give my husband. Facial expressions, all eye rolls, I still give that to my husband as of today.
I mean, those were some of the best things on the show during that period. So it was just kind of a week to week thing then during that time.
Yeah. And I had no idea how long it was gonna last or how be. It was pretty much like, we're okay, like we need Renee now. So
Yeah. Do you ever get to like meet and talk with Vince while you were there?
yes, a few times.
Yeah.
He's been very professional. He's been very nice. I never had an issue with him, you know. So yeah, Vince is Vince. Vince is Vince. I think like a lot of people, they get this misconception of he's very intimidating. There's something about his
Mhm.
aura that I think a lot of people are intimidated by. But yet that aura is very attracting, for me, because it's like I want to get to know this person, what's going on in his mind, what's his story and everything else. Granted, I'm still learning, but yet there's something about Vince that's like he has a lot of ideas, and for him to be able to run a company for that long is intriguing.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And also with you and Drake, and that was some of the most talked about stuff. Was it last year? These days feel like months right now, so it's hard to.
Was it
Was it last year or 2018? It was last year, I think.
last year?
Right? It's hard to. Time is so weird right now.
Yeah, okay. My husband got married in 2017. Yeah, and it's 2018 took a whole year, and
Right.
then 2019. Yeah.
Just feels like shows where there was a crowd just seems like a long time ago.
Oh, it's throwing me off. It's
Yeah.
like it's so strange now not having a crowd.
Mhm.
I miss the fans. I do.
Yeah.
I do. And if it wasn't for the fans, I wouldn't be who I am or where I am today.
Yeah.
So if anything, like I owe them.
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching all these other sports on TV that don't have fans. It's still weird. It's still awkward, but it's nothing like wrestling without the fans because there's so much show with
That
wrestling.
energy.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did want to ask you, a lot of fans, they were surprised when the WWE releases happened in April, that Drake Maverick was one of them. They thought that was a storyline because he did eventually get hired back. Once and for all, was Drake really fired?
Yes, he was really fired. It was unfortunate. It was out of nowhere. And it's solely because due to the whole pandemic. But in a way, is that okay, either that you get fired and don't say anything at all and disappear into the night,
Mhm.
or make something out of it. And my husband, he's never been the type of person to not do anything. He's like, you know what, I'm going to make the best out of it. And if any other companies was interested in me, great. If not, at least I give it my all, and we were like, all right, well, if things does not go well here in America, we could always go to England. And I don't mind even moving to England. Like, I love England.
Yeah.
I love London and everything. So I'm adaptable to wherever I may go. But he, while everyone was still getting released, he had already, finished by then, did his promo, did his speaking out and everything else with that. And he posted it up there while in the process, there's still many other people still being released. And for me, I think it's timing. Timing is everything. It's like, why be silent and not say anything during the whole time when you can say something right then and there? And it's kind of like during the whole wave of it.
Mm-hmm.
So all that emotion that he has said and everything, they were very true. He loved wrestling. He trained his whole life in it. He even had like a second job and doing wrestling in the very beginning of his career. That man, he eats, breathes, watches everything wrestling. Like, even when we're asleep at night, he still has wrestling on. He's a wrestling encyclopedia.
Yeah. Now, has that rubbed off on you? Are you like just a huge wrestling fan now?
Because of him, yes. And like, if anything, like he's great. His psychology and how the way his mind goes, he's very phenomenal. It's like, I wish that I could contain that much information. Him, but he's been doing it for about 20 years. So.
Right. So outside of Drake, who are some of your other favorite wrestlers to watch in the business right now?
Gosh, mine's are a little bit old school. I love like Sensational Sherry.
Oh, she's awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome. And then of course there's Mickey, who I end up wrestling and everything. Lita, Yushin Liger, HBK, especially like HBK from WrestleMania 14.
Yeah.
That was really good. And then Chigusa Nagio, which is my senpai. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, senpai. I call her Pama, so she's like a mama and papa for me. But yeah, the list goes on from there. Like, I think I know, like right now, like a lot of the women, they want to be more taken seriously, and I think like a lot of women from back then were very much taken seriously. Granted, it was more on the sexier side of things, but there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having a feminine energy, but also be able to be in the ring and be able to go just as well as the guys.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. You had mentioned during the pandemic, you've been doing some CrossFit. What are some other things that you're doing during this pandemic to keep you busy?
Yes, there's CrossFit. And then also on top of that, I do attend over at Flatbacks, which is owned by Tyler Breeze and Sean Spears. So they are my trainers right now. Nice. I've been for them for like about a year or so. But I love those guys. Those guys, they are the best. They're good hearts.
What are your thoughts on wrestling during the pandemic? Is that something, if you got approached with an indie booking that was close by, do you think you'd take it?
No. Mm-hmm. No, because I am very conscious of catching anything.
Right.
Like I have family that are, on the older side. So it would be unfair for me to give, let's say if I was to catch something, let's say the coronavirus or something, and it's like, yeah, I'm young or whatever, strong enough, I may overcome it. Who knows? I may not. I know that I have a weak immune system. I'm not trying to catch anything. If I was to give it to my mother, my grandmother, my grandfather, my father, I'm putting them at risk.
Yeah.
Right. It would be very selfish of me. Like, I would not mind wrestling if other people were taking the COVID test. Mm-hmm. Oh, the temperature check does not suffice for me. Mm-hmm. It does not. But no, sorry. But I'm taking this whole time as a way to revamp myself, to rebuild myself, to get my body in right, how the way I would want to get in ring ready, to maybe have a no whole completely different look. I mean, as you can see, I'm rocking the honey.
There you go. Right. Absolutely. Um, so once this pandemic dies down or goes away, this vaccine, they're making rapid progress on it. Um, what are your future goals in the business?
Oh, continue on with wrestling. Who knows? I mean, Pamela, she wants me to come back to Japan, so I might be back there. With me, you never know. You never know.
Great. Well, Renee, this has been great. I've been trying to set this up for a while, so I'm glad you took the time today to be able to
Yeah.
speak with me.
I like to keep people guessing. I don't like where I'm going to be at. I like to keep people guessing. Like,
Right.
I'm like, you're just going to have to wait and see.
There you go. How can people find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram, which is Lady RM, or you can find me on Twitter, which is one Renee Michelle.
All right. Well, Renee, thank you so much, and we hope to speak to you again soon.
Thank you so much, Raj, and thank you, everyone.